Greetings, kindred spirits, and a big welcome to all the newcomers here. I just want to say thank you all so much for your support, especially those of you who have been following me since day one. It's been 7 years now since I've been putting out 13 Star Sign Astrology reports. The first 5 years I was just submitting articles, and for the last 2 I have been doing these podcasts. So I'm almost finished with my home renovations, and I can't wait to share with you all more information on 13 Star Sign Astrology and to introduce you to some of my networking team. So, I have a lot of plans for the future. I think most of you know I have a passion for ancient history, and I've been researching that for many years, and I had a lot of downloads last year at the Lionsgate portal right up until the end of December, and I will be sharing those with you as well. It's been kind of a crazy year, hasn't it? It's like we made all these plans and it's like they've all just been turned on their head. I think many of us just feel that way at the moment. But I do feel like we're all kind of coming back down to earth, even though the energies are heavy. It just goes to show really just how adaptable we are. So this week NASA's astronomical solar calendar has started to circulate in the media again, and is causing quite a stir, as it always does, and I've seen this happen a few times. And I've always felt excited when that happens, because it means that many more are coming to the realization that the conventional astrology they are familiar with is not what they had expected. Many automatically assume that Western astrology work with the true placement of the planets in signs, when actually the data that the calculations are taken from is an outdated map that was created by Ptolemy many centuries ago. That's why I always refer to my own astronomical work, or astrological work I should say, as True Lifetime Sky, because I've had my own chart wheel designed so it properly aligns with the true planet placements. And I also include the 13th sign of Ophiuchus, since this constellation sits on the ecliptic but is not included in any other form of astrology except the 13 signs. So the information that I give is the correct astronomical data in my reports. The astronomical calculations that I follow are Walter Berg's, who is both an astronomer and astrologer. He's also a scientist, and he's also the original founder of 13 Star Sign Astrology. And, I have attached 2 links below in the description box to some written articles. One is an interview we did with Walter Berg himself a few years ago, and the second is an explanation of the difference between Western astrology and 13 Star Sign Astrology, and that was actually written by the late Eric Seligson. So the new moon begins in its own sign of Cancer in the True Lifetime Sky on the 20th of July at 18:32 in the GMT time zone, at 13:32 in the EDT time zone, and on the 21st of July at 3:32 in the AEDT time zone. So both our sun and moon will be at 0 degrees. So this is an exceptionally powerful moon, and many may feel completely exhausted emotionally with these energies alone. And together with the aspects and other planetary placements, I think even the best of us will struggle under this one. Especially if we have a strong water sign in our personal chart. And the water signs are Cancer, Pisces and Scorpio. And I've also got to include Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. I mean, Sagittarians, the 13 star signs Sagittarians, they have been under tremendous pressure over this last year with all, a lot of the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto, going through the sign of Sagittarius. So yeah, Sagittarians out there, you are also under heavy pressure. So in the time of our ancestors, the sign of Cancer was also acknowledged as the scarab by the Egyptians and the turtle by the Mesopotamians. So looking up these animal totems will give an extra insight into the energies at play this new moon. The new moon is also the ruler of the 5th house in the true lifetime sky, not the 4th, which makes more sense to me since our homes are more based on technology these days, ruled by Gemini. And domesticity and home creations and family time are more of a luxury item on our list these days. So the 5th house is really the house of creative vision, and Cancer is definitely the sign that holds that gift. But whether she is willing to bring that side of her out into the public domain is usually a very different story. So this new moon at 0 degrees shows that the gestation development through the recent eclipses that I have discussed in my last few podcasts is now moving into the crowning position, which is that last stage of labour when the head crowns just before the actual birth takes place. Although the birth in this case won't happen until around the solar eclipse that takes place on the 14th of December in the sign of Ophiuchus. So just like the eclipse season started with a lunar eclipse in Ophiuchus, the eclipse season will complete as a solar eclipse in Ophiuchus in December. And this is where the birth of the new begins, so let's hope it doesn't turn out to be a floating baby, if you understand what I mean by that. So for example, it's like that fear of letting go and taking the plunge into the unknown, just like the Fool card in the tarot deck. This particular new moon, on the whole, will be about preparing ourselves psychologically and emotionally to break free from self-created restrictions and, to help us get out of our comfort zones, where there is also this fear of death or endings that need to be overcome. Death always seems so final, but in reality, it is just a shedding of the old to make way for the new. And I refer to the word death in a metaphorical sense. So as dramatic as it seems, this energy being emitted will feel very heavy for the Cancer new moon, which is also a sign that often feels exposed and vulnerable in her low ebb. In her higher consciousness, she does become the great visionary by trusting her instincts and overcoming her fear of the unknown. So many of us will be going deep this new moon, but from this depth, we can gain great insights regarding any limitations in our thoughts or actions that may be blocking our path. For many, this may be to do with a relationship that has become stagnant and overbearing. The energies coming in are pushing us to speak up and defend ourselves if we have been too submitting to others. Especially others' needs and not paying enough attention to our own. So this new moon is all about self-preservation and self-protection. And if we are doing that in a productive way, then we will be forming good boundaries. But if we're doing it from a place of self-defensiveness, then we are likely to feel triggered and adopt that victim mentality. Many will be facing their self-limitations this new moon, and as difficult as that can be when we are in that self-defensive mode, we must do our best to rise above our emotional vulnerabilities and past wounds, so we can see the wisdom, strength, and creative vision that is a natural ability that we all have in our own individual and unique ways. Collectively, it could be a time where we feel like we're just walking on eggshells. The moon will come into conjunction with the beehive cluster at the heart of Cancer on the 21st, which is the day after the new moon. So as the birth crowning takes place, the soul that is ready to be born will enter into the womb. So for many, this will be about claiming their true identity after months of feeling lost or out of sorts. For some, this could have been going on for years. It's also a time where the lily springs out of the muddy waters for those who have been going through the dark night of the soul. So when the lily springs out of the waters, it's like out of the muddy waters comes beauty and strength. So I do feel there will be a lot of ascension going on this new moon. And with that, many more will start to see their lives in a new way, with a new vision of the future, whether that appears to be good or bad, depending on what frame of mind we're in or what our emotional makeup is at this time. I think we have to keep in mind also that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation. It can be just what it's meant to be, a new way of life or a new way of seeing things and trusting in our own abilities and intuition. A low self-esteem will just keep us stuck in negative cycles simply because we are familiar with that pattern. And like they say, it's better the devil you know. But I say, leave the devil behind and learn from that experience. Because when we do make that shift, we will find ourselves not accepting anything more than the respect we know that we deserve. Collectively, we are being prepared for a mass shift in consciousness. Actually, this shift is already occurring, but it's still very subtle at the moment. So watch out for downloads, psychic visions, and a very strong intuition. There will also be a lot of self-realizations taking place, or a further exposure in the media, maybe regarding the care industry or the food industry. But, I wouldn't even leave out politics because Cancer can be very political as well. But I do feel that this new moon will be bringing a strong awareness amongst the collective about the importance of bringing balance back into nature, for the sake of our Mother Earth and her children. So to me, Cancer represents the fertilized cosmic egg, the pregnancy in its final stages and that all-encompassing maternal feeling. Although we must beware of becoming overprotective of ourselves or others. Sometimes the Cancerian energy can become quite overbearing and smothering in its extreme. So I definitely recommend deep breathing techniques and counting to 10 on occasion. Our new moon will be in quincunx to the South Node in Sagittarius and in opposition to Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and the goddess Pallas. And the goddess Pallas has actually played quite a big part over the last year in getting us to take off the rose-tinted glasses and seeing the bigger picture when it comes to our lifestyle and the world around us. I think most of us learn our lessons the hard way in life, but there are times, or we do come to a time, where we can learn from other people's mistakes just by being observant and non-judgmental. I think the most important thing these aspects are showing to me is that we need to let go of what we want and move towards what is actually best for us in the long run. Because sometimes what we want isn't necessarily what we need, and whatever that may be. Also, trust issues have been showing up a lot in my astrology reports for quite some time now, and I do feel that we're coming to the end of that. So this is really all about us becoming comfortable in our own skin and trusting that we are on the right path, doing the right thing, because all we can do at the end of the day is our best. There is also this intense lack of motivation being felt throughout this time. The energies are pretty heavy, and I would say relax as much as possible. But I can see that things are likely to be very busy, if not in our physical lives, then definitely on our mental planes. So, it may be a case that we're overdoing things, like either physically or overthinking things. Again, this is an energy that keeps us stuck. Some may need to shed tears for release, while others need to move past their high expectations or abandonment issues. Many will be waking up to their unique gifts and talents at this time too, on a positive level, while others will be ascending to higher levels of consciousness where their gifts actually receive an upgrade. So, there's quite a lot going on with this new moon energy. So Mercury retrograde did end on the 12th of July, but is now in post-shadow until the 26th. So please do remain cautious until after the 26th when it comes to signing new contracts or buying any mechanical or electrical equipment. On the other end of the scale, I do see a continuation of existing contracts or commitments coming to an end throughout this time. And that does include relationships, career contracts, business contracts, commitments, maybe commitments where we feel obligated. I just feel there's so many endings taking place throughout this time. And this is really to make way for the new. So I recommend, as usual, lots of meditation or quiet time when possible. But most importantly, I feel connecting with nature, like feeding the birds or spending time with family, especially, family dinners or get-togethers. And, creating a comfortable environment with candles and low lighting and easy listening music. Crafting will also be good, as well as creative visualization, salt baths, walking barefoot. These will all be good tools to keep us grounded and at peace. And if you own a scarab, wear it, or wear the colour turquoise for vibrancy and to uplift the spirit. This energy, this new moon, is all about clearing out the old to make way for the new. And, this new moon's energy will carry us up to the full moon and all the eclipses that have been happening over the last few months. Their energy is still the underlying force, the serpent energy, is the underlying force throughout all these moons and Lionsgate portal and, you know, all the astronomical events taking place. The serpent energy is the underlying factor, but very subtle, and will continue to be very subtle up until the solar eclipse in December. And I forgot to attach a suggested meditation to the full moon lunar eclipse podcast I did 2 weeks ago, but I have attached one this time in the description box below. I apologise for that. I was feeling a little bit scattered actually at the time, and that's in the description box below, together with the articles that I mentioned earlier. So stay in peace, kindred. Much love.